Trump's Department of Justice opens an investigation into Andrew Cuomo over pandemic testimony to Congress. President Trump made an appearance on Capitol Hill, and Congresswoman McIver claims she's innocent after being federally charged by the DOJ. Welcome to Nellie Miranda. But before we get into this video, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. It helps support the channel. And tap the notification bell so you never miss any updates.
Fox News alert, the Trump Justice Department just opened up a criminal investigation into the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. This is according to the New York Times. Investigators might be looking into false statements that Cuomo made to a congressional committee investigating New York's COVID response. We'll keep you posted as we find out more.
For years, conservatives have called out the Cuomo administration for their disastrous handling of COVID-19 in nursing homes. And now the DOJ is finally stepping in. The fact that Cuomo may have lied to Congress about his role in downplaying thousands of nursing home deaths is disgraceful. And let's not forget, while the left was handing him Emmys and book deals, families were grieving loved ones they lost in vain. Trump was on Capitol Hill today urging House Republicans to unite around the big, beautiful bill, getting it out of the House and into the Senate.
This is bigger than any Ronald Reagan tax cut. It's even bigger than the tax cut that I gave, because as you know, that's being extended and increased. So this is the biggest tax cut in the history of our country, or you'll get a 68% tax increase. And if that happens, I mean, what Republican could vote for that to happen? Because they wouldn't be a Republican much longer. They would be knocked out so fast. But we're going up to details. This is I'm a cheerleader for this party, and I'm a cheerleader for the country, much more importantly for the country. But I'm a cheerleader for the party, and we're going to go up, and I think we're going to have a very good discussion. There are one or 2 points that some people feel strongly about, but maybe not so strongly.
On one of those points, do you consider some of the proposals on the table in co-pay and provider tax as a benefit cut? How are you viewing those?
No, we are looking at one thing. We're not doing any cutting of anything meaningful. The only thing we're cutting is waste, fraud, and abuse. With Medicaid, waste, fraud, and abuse. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse.
Look, most Americans care about tax cuts versus the rising deficit. People want to keep their hard-earned money as it boosts personal freedom and economic growth. To combat the deficit, I believe the government should reduce its spending. Watch as CNN confirms this.
Here's a question, though. It's an age-old question when it comes to politics. Do voters actually even care about deficits? One man knows the answer to that question. It is CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton. Explain.
Yeah, to quote Stephen A. Smith, they don't care. They don't care about those deficits. What are we talking about here? All right, let's take a look. Cut taxes, even if the deficit increases. Look at this. 60% overall say, cut those taxes, baby. What about Republicans? You know, they're the ones who are supposedly so concerned over the deficit. But even there, 74% say cut taxes, even if the deficit increases. Both overall and Republicans, they don't care. They don't care. In fact, the only ones who do seem to care are, in fact, Democrats. 55% of Democrats are opposed to cutting taxes if the deficit increases. But when it comes to Republicans, we're talking 3/4. The overall public, 3/5. They don't care. They say cut those taxes, even if the deficit increases.
You know, it's interesting because I've been around this politics game for a long, long time. And there are people in this business who will tell you when push comes to shove, voters never really care about deficits. But the polls and the data here show something a little different.
Yeah, this was something I think that came to a little bit of a surprise to my dear friend standing on the other side of your screen, Mr. Berman. Take a look here. Okay, cut taxes even if the deficit increases. Now, you know, it's that 60% we spoke about. But back in 1996, the real last time where there really was a movement to bring that deficit down, bring that debt down, it was just 23% who said cut taxes even if the deficit increases. So we've nearly seen a tripling, far more than doubling of the percentage of Americans who say that we should cut those taxes even if the deficit increases. And that's where we're standing right now, basically, amongst the American public, and why I think that this movement to basically try and, you know, close down Trump's big, beautiful bill by making the argument that the deficit would increase, why will basically probably go nowhere at the end of the day, because the bottom line is voters overall and Republican voters especially say we want to cut those taxes.
Exactly. The average American wants tax cuts. After dealing with Bidenomics for 4 years, People were wiping out their savings, maxing out their credit cards just to stay afloat. Most Americans don't even understand how the deficit impacts their daily life. But they sure as hell know how tax cuts will affect them. Now let's move on to Congresswoman McIver. I told you earlier that she has been federally charged by the DOJ following her incident at the Delaney Hall Detention Center. She is claiming that she is innocent. I'm going to play the clip of her at the ICE facility, followed by what President Trump had to say about it.
Accusing the mayor of trespassing and ignoring multiple warnings from Homeland Security to remove himself from the center. She says that will not stand in this state, that no one is above the law. The protest was originally in opposition to the facility reopening, with immigrants already being held inside, according to the mayor, without the proper authorization from the city. The 4 elected officials attempted to gain access inside the center to observe the conditions of the facility. The 3 Congress members went inside the facility gates.
Democratic Congresswoman. Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control.
Did you address
those days are over.
Did
The
you
days
tell her
of
to do
woke.
that?
The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over in this country. We're going to have law and order.
Now, either my eyes are deceiving me or she's obviously in the wrong. But she did go on to CNN to declare her innocence.
CNN has some reporting from sources that you and the Justice Department had attempted to negotiate a plea deal of some kind. Acting U.S. Attorney Alina Habba, though, said on Monday that you declined the department's attempts to, quote, come to a resolution. Can you speak to that? I mean, are you open to having a discussion with the Justice Department to resolve this outside of the courtroom at this point?
Well, the Justice Department and Alina Habba wanted me to admit to doing something that I did not do, and I was not going to do that. Once again, I came there to do my job and conduct an oversight visit, and they wanted me to say something differently, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going to roll over and stop doing my job because they, don't want me to, or they want to neglect the fact that we needed to be in there to see what was going on in that detention center. And so, absolutely, no, I was not going to do that. And I think I'm open. I've always been open to having conversations. We have to have good government. We have to be able to conduct ourselves and be professionals, in this work. This is what the folks that I represent expect for me to do. And so definitely always open to conversations, but I'm not going to admit to something that I did not do. And no one's going to stop me for serving the people in New Jersey because that's what they expect for me to do.
I mean, come on. Of course, no one is saying that they are not allowed to go down to ICE detention center to conduct a humanitarian search. But there are much more effective ways that they could have gone about this. Instead of swarming the facility, they could have saved themselves some time and dignity by making an appointment. I believe this was political grandstanding at its best. Anyways, that's all for today, folks. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. And if you got any value from this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.